We talk about food, we talk about music, with musical dudes. Finger on the pulse, Snacky Tunes.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Happy Monday.
Good Monday to you.
Good Monday to you, Terrence.
Good Monday to you, never forget.
You are listening to Snacky Tunes. We are your host, Finger on the Pulse. It is Monday.
Beautiful.
Gorgeous day. Hot. Very hot. But it's like, it rained so much this summer that anytime that it's not raining, it could be like 100 and I'm like, summer. It finally actually felt like summer this last week. We went out all last week.
What a week.
We met a lot of people. I saw like 7 new bands.
The XX.
School 7 Bells, Tan Lines, Q&A. Oh, I think my phone is on.
Oh.
That's me.
Okay.
That's my amateur
and
hour.
DFA Boat Cruise, big shout out to People Don't Dance No More. Really just knocked out
And the worst barbecue ever at the yard.
And the jelly pool parties. I'm exhausted.
I'm feeling good. It's me.
Oh,
it's really me.
Okay, so anyway,
There's
you
my
are
phone.
listening to Snacky Tunes on heritageradionetwork.com. A big shout out to our producer, Jack Inslee, our engineer, RecTech. As always, thank you to TechServe, who has extended the lifelines on so many of Never Forget's computers.
I've literally lost like 2 hard drives, 3 logic boards. just all a million. And and it's come back from the dead every time.
Beautiful.
They said it couldn't be done.
So TechServe.
And they did it.
We got a big show today. We got JDH of Fix Fame in the studio, who's...
Well, you messed up my end. You're supposed to be like, hey, what song was that you just played?
Oh, I was going to step back. So we have JDH eating some delicious pizza from Roberta's. Thank you very much. And the first track is of his partner's fame, Dave P. and
Adam Sparkles. It's the B-side of their single called Tuesday's Gone. You've heard on here before. Dave could not make it today. He is in Philadelphia recovering probably from the Mad Decent Block Party, which I heard was a scorcher.
I heard it was awesome. Seriously. Northeast sort of killed it this weekend.
Yeah. So we're going to have Dave on to talk about traveling with Solwax, Simeon, eating seafood, and then he's going to drop a couple sets for us.
And then we also coming up in just a little bit, we have Mark Pastore, who's the famous butcher, face of Pat LaFrida, and Jordana Rothman, one of the associate editors of Time Out, to talk about her articles on bartenders, butchers, and baristas and their rise to stardom.
Speaking of summer and all things summer.
Nice.
Nice, right?
Really
It's good.
nice.
Really smooth. I guess if you call attention to the transition, it's not.
What transition?
Exactly. We have our final summer barbecue at Hope Lounge this Wednesday. Last month with Sam Mason and the Harlem Shakes was really good. Monsoon. Looking to be another rainy day.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. We sold out. We still sell it every time. 250 plates, and our restaurant this time is Prime Meats.
Beautiful.
Beautiful, which we ate at. Also, we have Dap Kings, one of the Dap Kings, Gabe from the Dap Kings, and the Honey Dripper from Dap Tone Records, DJing, along with our friend Mikey from Warsaw.
So we went to Prime Meats with part of the Dinner with the Band crew, who's holding it down at the Loft right now. And it's gorgeous. It's Carroll Gardens. It's off the Carroll stop. And got to sit outside the patio. It was beautiful. And the name of the beer escapes me. But it was...
It's like the Einheimer, I think.
The Einheimer.
It was the Einheimer.
It was probably the best beer I ever had.
I also got the lamb shank, which I feel is like when that comes as a special...
Order it.
Order it. That, and as Luke says, that or the rabbit. It no matter what you get, it trumps it. And they had nice cheeses, the beers. I mean, we were too full for...
At the strip steak, it was delicious. I mean, it was great. Let me tell you something. If you want a great meal, romantic or friendly...
Or friendly that could turn into romance.
Which-
But you could back up
Yeah.
and be okay.
But listen, it was great. The service was great. The bar is beautiful. And then, of course, the very famous Prime Meats sign, which is just one of the most beautiful mirror found signs.
It's famous?
And it's famous in circles.
I don't know. They found it?
I don't know the story.
I should have. We should have. We'll ask.
This is probably the best restaurant review you've ever heard.
Yeah.
Informed. But also, big shout out to Frank
Cisnero,
who's one of the bartenders there, who actually hooked us up with the Prime Meats guys. So we're really excited.
It's off the Carroll stop.
The menu, as I pull it up, it's great. It's going to be a lot of
The menu for Wednesday.
menu. I mean, is
It's
it
like-
German? I mean, we could say German.
It's German influence.
It's heritage grilled pork belly, and then like cabbage, and just schnitzel.
apple stuff.
I'm sorry, not schnitzel. Strudel, apple strudel,
Cabbage salad.
pretzels,
And drinks by Wayne.
drinks by Wayne, $5, 7 to 11.
Hope Lounge, Wednesday.
10 Hope Street this Wednesday. It's our
Soul bangers
soul bangers.
to go with your food bangers.
And also, if you haven't been to any of our barbecues, this is your last chance this summer until next season. And who knows next season? Next season's going to be huge.
Yeah.
This season is huge. Seriously, I just want to say, big shout out also to The Door and everyone. Really, like, these barbecues were really just above and beyond what we could think.
So we're gonna go play a track, and then we're gonna come back and do our interview with Jordana and Patrick.
No. Mark. Well done.
Thank you.
I have the names written down.
Yeah, this is more Terry's interview and not so much mine. But I'm still excited. And this track we're gonna play is called Fantasy. It's by the XX, who are on Beggars, and probably one of the best bands I saw this summer. Saw them at Pianos.
Oh, yeah.
Then they played the Seaport with School of Seven Bells. They played Music Hall. They played Monkey Town as well. This was probably like the one chance you're gonna see them, and then they're gonna come back and blow up. They're all 19. I think one just turned 20.
Awesome.
So good. So this is Snacky Tunes, and this is the XX.
For the desired effect, would you come back August or June? And I hate that tomorrow's the sun, but this collision came mid-bloom. Better build to resume. I'll see you August, see you June. I'm building high.
Okay, we'll bring it. I think we're live. There we go.
Hey, sorry about that.
Hey.
So you're listening to Dead Air on Snacky Tune Radio. No, we are getting ready for our phone calls.
But we can say hello to our guest today, JDH.
Hey, how you doing?
Hey, man. We're excited you're in here.
I'm psyched to be here.
Thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
Okay. So that was just the XX who were out on Beggars. Fantastic. Just missed them. I wish I had known that they were coming to town. I didn't find out till later. We would have prepped them, whatever. But anyway.
So a few weeks ago, one of our good friends, culinary cohorts, and all-around lady about town, Jordana Rothman, who is an associate editor for Time Out New York, wrote a very compelling article about the current status rise of bartenders, baristas, and butchers in focuses New York, but over in general, and the switch from a blue-collar profession to a very desired job. And we are lucky enough to be joined right now by Jordana Rothman. Jordana, are you there?
Hi, Darin. How are you?
Jordana, always a pleasure to hear your voice. How are you doing?
Me too. I'm doing so well. Thank you.
So we are also going to be joined in just a little bit, if not right now, by Mark Pastore, who is the Campari-swilling face of Pat LaFrida, probably one of the best-known meat purveyors wholesale in New York. But Jordana, why don't you talk to us about where the inspiration from this article came and how you did your research?
Well, we started to see a lot of professions, obviously the ones that you mentioned, were really taking on this sort of cult status among people who are young and people who are working in, the culinary and beverage industries in New York. I had attended about a month ago a cocktail conference in New Orleans called Tales of the Cocktail. It's been going on for about 5 years, but apparently it's never been so well attended. It was unbelievable. There was just an incredible outpouring of support from the community, everyone that makes your drinks in New York City. So it was really incredible to see everybody come out for that and just how intensely cocktail culture had sort of permeated, the mainstream. And on top of that, butchers are just on everybody's tongue right now. Everybody's talking about them. And baristas. There was a time when, your coffee shop sort of had that Reality Bites quality to it with somebody who was an out-of-work actor sort of, doing drip coffee. And now there's just this entire cult following and all of these new exciting technologies and new extraction methods that are just, well beyond what the home brewer can do. So there's just some things that are really piquing my interest, and they seem to have this common thread of young people who were really looking to do something physical as a job, a profession.
That's great. Now, Mark?
Yeah.
Hey, Mark, how are you? Welcome to Snacky Tunes.
How are you?
Good, thanks. So how have you felt over the last few years as a, involved in the butcher industry and the whole food meat sale, as your status has risen with the popularity of, meat not sold on a, mass processed level?
Well, I think the whole industry, in general has really gone towards a boutique style now of butchering. And, where in the old days you used to go down to your neighborhood butcher and you'd ask for, a certain cut of meat. Things have changed now to these boutique style cuts. And, we've really jumped on the wave with these, and we've brought them to a new level, whether it's in, retail cuts or wholesale cuts, and of course our grinds and our blends that we do our chopped beefs with.
Okay, now, yes?
I feel like that's an important point, too, because, the idea that people are newly interested in where their food comes from, I think really helped a lot of these professions really surface. Like, in my conversations with Mark and many of the other butchers I talked to, they all discussed the fact that, people with a new awareness of food and a new interest in the kind of food they're eating really allowed them to resurface and for the butcher to come back.
Now,
sort of obscurity.
Jordana, how did your research go in finding these different bartenders and baristas and butchers? Was it an easy process? Were people forthcoming with information, or was it a lot of research to find the content that you wanted?
Sure. Well, to a certain extent, it was easy because, again, this is very much happening right now. It's not difficult to find bartenders and butchers who sort of fall into the categories that I'm talking about. What was more difficult was sort of seeking out people who weren't necessarily a product of this recent trend. I wanted to find people that had been butchering, they had butcher shops in their family for 100 years who could speak to it and sort of provide a little bit of perspective as to why this is going on and if, their profession had ever been considered sexy. And the same with bartenders. I mean, there's 100, sexy, stylish cocktail lounges in the city, but there's also great bars that have nothing to do with cocktail culture. So that was a bit of a challenge because those people aren't necessarily used to being interviewed at all, really. They don't really get the kind of attention that the other bartenders do. And then I did a lot of research that was archival. I wanted to see where, I wanted to see the history of these professions and how they were sort of perceived in years past and if they had ever enjoyed the kind of attention that they have right now.
Mark, in sort of taking off that question, how important is to you about the history and the tradition of butchering, or is it just an all-modern take?
It really is a modern take. I mean, the days of butchers that what we have in our mind are, these older guys or these big, heavy-set guys standing around in a white, bloody coat. I mean, that to me was always like a butcher, seeing them walking in with, going into like a car lamer or something like that when I was a kid and holding my mom's hand and, seeing them behind the counter. I thought it was really cool. But to me, those guys always scared me. Now you have these prim and proper little guys running around with slick back hair and, all these, these rock stars of guys that are, very artisanal cuts and very boutique style cuts. And, there are some of also the best chefs in Manhattan today, so they've come up with a lot of custom cuts. So I think the whole industry has changed in terms of that. But a lot of people have to remember that, being a real butcher, that being at a table, working usually in temperatures that's 30 to 36 degrees at night, all night long, standing on your feet, is not too glamorous. It's actually pretty grueling.
So are you saying that you see this as a trend? Is this something?
I definitely see it as a trend, yes. I think that it's just cool right now. I think it's a fad, but I think eventually that, the people that are the real butchers will go back to being the real butchers. And, not too long ago, I could remember we couldn't find a decent butcher wherever we needed one.
Now, Jordana, I know primarily the focus of this article is New York, but as seeing what Mark just said, is this a nationwide trend or even an international trend?
I don't know that it necessarily is an international trend. I think there's some stuff going on in Japan that's very interesting in terms of young people operating butcher shops. Definitely in California, this is going on. Anywhere where there's a really potent food consciousness, I think people are starting to pay attention to this kind of stuff. But, in a sense, Mark is right. I mean, there have been a lot of sort of artisanal food jobs that have been the hot job of the moment. I mean, 5 years ago, everyone wanted to be a cheesemonger. I think it's all just sort of a process towards just becoming having a closer relationship with the food that you eat and produce.
So then I guess final question to both of you. Is there a problem with this being a trend, or do you think this is going to hurt the industry overall?
Mark, you want to take this one?
I don't think it's going to hurt the industry, one bit. In fact, I think that, it's brought a little bit of positive light to an industry that was pretty much behind the scenes. And it's given other people to come out and show themselves that they do have talent at something and creating talent. I know right now, in England, they have a show. I don't know the exact name of the show, but it's basically something like a Meet Rockstar show where they bring out like 6 or 7 or like talented butchers and they let them go at it and see who's going to come out, on top. And I agree with Jordana. It's big in California now, and it is. I'm not saying that it's going to be a 2-week or 3-week or a 6-month trend. It could be a couple of year trend. I mean, look what happened with burgers and things like that. Who knew?
Right.
But it's definitely interesting and it's definitely fun to watch, especially where we're sitting. And we just try to help people along the way.
Awesome. Well, Jordana, did you want to chime in one last time?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of hurting the industry, I don't necessarily see it. I don't see it hurting the industry. I think it will help in the sense that, again, this is just another step towards educating consumers about what they're eating. And, if they go to, Marlowe and Daughters, for example, in Williamsburg, and, they buy some really high-quality meat that's been butchered from, a whole animal, or they eat a Pat LaFrieda hamburger, then they're going to have a higher expectation of flavor and what they want in meat that they buy at home. So, I spoke to Nicholas Ottamanelli, who has had a butcher in his family for hundreds of years, and it's helped him. The new awareness of the new focus on artisanal butchering has really helped his business, even though he's not really part of this trend.
Awesome. Well, let me thank you very much for coming on again. This is Mark Pastore from Pat LaFrieda, probably one of the most famous wholesalers of meat in the city, and if not the world. And Jordana Rothman, the associate editor at Time Out New York. Thank you very much for calling into Snacky Tunes.
Thank you.
We appreciate it.
All right, talk to you soon.
Bye.
So you're listening to Snacky Tunes on heritageradionetwork.com. DJ Never Forget's going to drop a quick set, and then after that, JDH of Fix fame. Thanks a lot for listening.
Wanna make it feel so real. Wanna make it feel so real. Just give it a go now, yeah. You drive me crazy.
There's a drumming noise inside my head that starts when you're around. I swear that you could hear it, it makes such an almighty sound. There's a drumming noise inside my head that throws me to the ground. I swear that you should hear it, it makes such an almighty sound. There's a drumming noise inside my head that starts when you're around. I swear that you could hear it, it makes such an almighty sound. There's a drumming noise inside my head that starts when you're around. I swear that you could hear it, it makes such an almighty sound.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was just DJ Never Forget dropping a mini set on Snacky Tune Radio on heritageradionetwork.com. Snacky Tunes every Monday live 2 p.m. Big shout out to our producer Jack Inslee and our engineer Rec Tech, sponsor TechServe. Also coming up with a little preview, Moby will be on September 7th. Got some really, really special surprises on that show. And a big shout out to Matt, Eric, Luke, Mike, Darin and Jordan holding it down at the dinner at the band loft. Never forget who played.
So that first track was Spaghetti Circus by Still Going, which I heard Holy Ghost drop for the first time. I've never heard before. They played last night at Brooklyn Bowl.
The Deep End After Party.
Thank you to Nick the Duke for passing me that morning. After that was the Ian Brown Hostage remix. Stupefy. And then that was just the Florence and the Machine drumming song Boy 8-Bit remix, which is a perfect transition because Boy 8-Bit is playing...
You can't talk about transition.
Oh, stop it. Boy 8-Bit is playing this Friday at the Trouble and Bass party, which Fixed is presenting, and we'd like to welcome to our studio JDH.
Hey, what's up, guys?
I'll give background. We first saw you spin at your legendary Tribeca Grand parties, and we both would say that if we had seen you spin before we started Finger on the Pulse, we probably wouldn't have started Finger on the Pulse. We really like your parties. They're really awesome. And then your partner, Dave P., obviously we're from Philadelphia, been growing up and sneaking in Dave's parties for as long as we can remember.
Nice.
The other thing about it is that I feel like every time I see you now at the start of a week, like a Monday or Tuesday, you've been on some culinary adventure that makes me jealous. And I think you were in Montauk past week, right?
Yeah, we just took a trip out to Montauk last, I guess it was Wednesday or Thursday. There's this restaurant in LA called Animal, which is sort of like a really cool spot with like lots of very interesting meats and stuff. And the closest example would be there's this place in London called St. John's Bread and Wine.
Love that place.
So it's sort of like that, but a little more like I don't even know how to say it, like American style. So they just did like a pop-up restaurant in Montauk, just for like 1 week, and it's actually Arthur Baker's cousin. So it's really random, and so yeah, a bunch of us took the train up there, and had some food there, and it was pretty crazy. The foods that they had, like foie gras hamburger with like spam on it, and like weird, amazing baby back ribs, and just everything was really had its own touch. But the craziest thing we had was this dessert that they have, which is this chocolate bar with bacon. It's basically chocolate with bacon bits, which you would never imagine that it tastes good, but it almost tastes like a Nestle Crunch or something really weird with like bacon flavor. And so yeah, if anyone lives in LA, I highly recommend going to those guys' spot because it's pretty crazy.
Wasn't there a special guest in the restaurant when you were there?
Oh yeah, when we were actually eating, right behind us was Steven Spielberg was there.
Oh, nice.
Like really on the DL, like sort of wearing glasses and a hat, you know. But it's a pretty mellow place. There's not very many tables, so it was pretty random. So yeah.
So you've been traveling with, obviously you guys are the opening DJs for Simeon, Mobile Disco, and Soulwax when they come on the road. Mm-hmm. And you were telling me this story about the seafood feast that you guys had in Seattle.
Yeah, we did a Soulwax show in Seattle about, I don't know, maybe a year or so ago, and we had heard about this place on the pier that I guess is sort of touristy, but they have these really amazing seafood feasts where you sit at a table and they just dump out like a garbage can of seafood, like crab, crawfish, shrimp, everything, lobster. And so a bunch of us, like all the Soulwax dudes and me and Dave, and there was probably like 10 or 15 of us, we all went and just threw down for like 3 hours on seafood and had, I don't even know how much. It was pretty crazy. By the end there was like mounds of food, mounds of trash above us, and the pictures are pretty amazing.
Shells of carnage and things like that.
Yeah, it's good stuff though.
Now you've also gone on tour with them in Europe, and what's it like being on the road with them or eating in Europe?
Well, I actually have a really good example of we did some dates in the south of France with Soulwax last summer, and it's funny because a lot of those places, the restaurants are really, really small, like family style, and obviously nothing's in English. And we all went to dinner one night, and me and Dave were sitting there, and those guys just kept making fun of us. They were calling us like Josh and Dave's European Adventure because we were just so like, we both order like Coca-Colas, and they bring a menu of like in French, and she's reading the menu, and Dave's just looking at her like she's like with this like blank face, and it was pretty much the most amazing thing ever, and we all got a good laugh out of that. But the food's always really amazing. But yeah. Is there
anywhere that you on repeat visits, like, I have to go here, I have to go to this restaurant?
Just as far as like, I just have to say overall, just like Berlin has the best food. Like there's so many good places to eat, just random small places that are crazy.
Not just German food, but
like everything. Good Italian food, good Indian food. Somehow like, they have really good like doner kebabs and all that stuff, and yeah.
I've had a good kebab at 5 a.m. on a Berlin street.
Yeah, that's what you do.
That's what you
actually
do.
When I was there for New Year's with my lady friend at the time. Our New Year's meal was doner kebabs.
Yeah, you get out of the club and you have a kebab, and that's sort of what you have to do that when you're in Berlin. So.
So tell us about the party that you guys are doing on Friday.
Well, we actually have 2 parties this weekend. One is Friday with Trouble and Bass, and it's Boy Ape. It's playing from the UK. He's obviously really awesome. Should be a good party. And that's in the back room at Public Assembly. And then on Saturday, we have our proper fix party in the basement at Tribeca Grand, which is where we started almost 5 years ago. And we have Joachim doing a DJ set. He's from France, and then we have this band, The Drums, from New York, coming to play, who are really awesome new band.
The Drums used to, before we started converting our loft, the Drums used our apartment as a practice space for about a month.
That's good.
So they're great.
Yeah.
I used to take naps to them. Well, not like fault because they're boring, but I would take naps, and I'd wake up and they'd be practicing.
Yeah.
So I think right now you're going to do a little set for us.
Yeah.
So we'll give you a second to set up. And
actually, Josh is going to close out the... You can set up.
Okay.
JDH is going to close out the show. Yeah. We're going to give him a set. Don't give me that look.
I'm not giving you that look, but we got
like 20 minutes. We're going to give him a 20-minute set.
And then we'll come back and we'll talk for a second.
Yeah, we'll come back and close it out, but most of the show is going to be like a 20-minute JDH. Dude,
I'm excited.
It's not like this pop music type stuff. It's
No, I'm excited. But also, just to mention this Friday as well.
The mic just got better. It sounded like I was sitting like from the past.
Anyway, so this Friday as well at Cameo and 93rd North 6, just up the street from the Boy 8-Bit Party, is our new party called Our Time with one of our favorite friends, Ender Wiggin, and VDRK, of Famous Friends. So it's going to be awesome. But you're listening to Snacky Tune Radio on Heritage Radio Network.
It's so hot in here.
It's so hot in
My
here.
brain is melting. But we are your host, Finger on the Pulse. We have got a very special in-studio set from JDH Affixed. You good? Yeah. All right, let's do this.
That keeps coming through.
We're a video doesn't loop. It's the middle of the night. That's my favorite part, keeps me under the gun. There's a part of me that keeps coming through. And I will come back to you. There's a part of me that keeps coming through. And I will come back to you.
All right.
JDH.
Wow.
Wow.
JDH. That was awesome.
Mind blown.
You were listening to Snacky Tunes. We're your host, Finger on the Pulse. We got a few minutes left. Big thank you to our guest today. Thank you to JDH from Fixed. Do you want to tell us what you just played?
The last track?
Or just some of them.
So I played this new track on this label, Supra. These guys, the Old Boys, that was the first track I played. It's called New Disco Jacket. It's a really cool track. I also played the new Holy Ghost track, I Will Come Back.
Amazing.
New
Track
York.
of the summer.
New York Dudes. And then I played This Summer in the City, edit by Peter Visti, who's like sort of Lindstrom, Prince Thomas crew on Mindless Boogie. And then I played this Paluski, well, actually his Discodine thing that he does, which is a remix he did of Photons on Dark and Lovely, which is just cool. And then the last track I played was this band Cold Cave from Philly, and it's a sort of remix that our friend Eric Brusek did. So,
Speaking of Paluski, we are bringing Paluski to Brooklyn, I guess, September 26th.
Brooklyn Bowl.
To Brooklyn Bowl.
With our friends from Philly, the Broadzilla guys.
Yeah.
Philly dudes all around.
Philly dudes all over. Yeah, Philly represent. We're actually going to go down to Philly and DJ the night before, and then we're going to come back up.
But let's also not forget this Friday at Public Assembly.
Fixed and Treble and Bass.
Boy 8-Bit.
Yeah.
That Florence and
Back room. And the back room is awesome.
Yeah, it's a good room. Yeah.
We usually go there for the bunker parties.
Yeah.
And then also this Friday, our party, our time, right up the street. Literally, you can do both. You can just go back and forth.
They're both on 6.
It's our time with Ender Wiggin and
which is free.
VDRK. Free with an email to music@fotpnyc.com.
And we have our barbecue this Wednesday.
It's going to be incredible.
With Prime Meats, Dap King, Dap Tones, and I Say Mikey from Warsaw. 7 to 10, free entry, $5 a plate.
Rain or shine.
Rain or shine. And what else we got? Oh, and Lauren Flax has Hotel Motel.
Oh, yeah, Hotel Motel, which hold on, I'm pulling up right now. Hotel Motel is just one of those parties. It's this... crap. I don't have it. Lauren, I apologize. Hold on, it's coming up right now.
It's at Tandem.
Hotel Motel is one of the... it's at Tandem, which is 234 Troutman between Wilson and Knickerbocker. And it's with one of our favorite people, J.D. Sampson, and then Kim Ann from Hercules and Love Fair, Louisa from CSS, who we've DJ'd with numerous times, and Lauren Chilhard. 10 to 4 a.m. It is free. It is a blast. It is like punch a hole through the week. This party is awesome type of fun. It is.
And coming up next week, we have the guys from the Sunday's Best, who do every Sunday at the Yard. And then to close out the month, we have Flosstradamus.
And then September 7th is our very special in studio with Moby. Like I said, a lot of great surprises, talk about tour, being a vegan, and a performance that is going to blow you away.
So final question for you, Josh, before we go. Last meal, what's it going to be?
Oh, man. Well, I'm from Texas, so I got to say, if I had one last meal,
Yeah.
chicken fried steak, mashed potatoes, and some sort of vegetable, corn or something, you know. Meat and 2 sides. That's what.
Meat and 2
Two
sides.
sides. That's perfect.
And on that note, we're going to close the show out. This is Snacky Tunes on heritageradionetwork.com. Big shout out to our producer, Jack Inslee, our engineer, RecTech, always keeping us in check and getting our callers on the phone. Thank you again to TechServe. Our computers will see you very shortly, I'm sure. We're on the air, the internet air, every Monday live, 2 p.m. to 3 p.m.
And all of our shows are archived, so if you like this, you can go back and check out past guests, Drop the Lime, VDRK,
Famous Friends, Free Magic.
a lot of things.
A lot of things. And
Tijuana.
Tijuana. A lot of special moments.
Yeah.
Little tasty treats. And again, big shout out to the dinner with the band crew holding down the loft. We're very excited. And this has been Snacky Tunes.